I extend my deepest appreciation to our distinguished speaker and chairpersons for their insightful contributions to this session. Now I would like to call upon stage Dr. Pawan Kulkarni sir to felicitate the chairperson Dr. Ashok Reddy sir. And I call upon stage Dr. Varshi sir to felicitate Dr. Sujit Sarkal sir. Dr. Shweta Cheryala ma'am, please come on to the dais ma'am to felicitate Dr. K. Narayan Rao sir.
And both of them have starting with first 5 letters being the same, both except.
Following the initial claims, multiple large epidemiological studies were undertaken which found no link between X and Y. What are X and Y? If you people permit, we will evaluate the teacher's paper also at the end.
So going to the next question, here ends the start question. So coming to 13th question. So X is a type of parenting which is of strict parenting whereby parents are highly invested in ensuring their children's success. Specifically, X parents push their children to attain high levels of academic achievement or success in high extracurricular activities such as music or sports. It's also a largely Chinese American concept which draws parallel to strict parenting styles common to households in East Asia, South Asia and Southeast Asia. The notion of ex-parent is analogous to authoritarian parenting stereotypes such as American stage mother, Japanese Kyoko mama and Jewish mother. And ex-parenting increases the risk of stress and PTSD in children. And X can be an animal.
The clue is X can be an animal. This is 1960s advertisement of a psychiatric medicine. Can you name it? Last question.
The clue is within the question. Okay, last question for the prelims round. X, who many revere as God, was the world's first counselor. What we call cognitive behavioral therapy in allopathy came from Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, who gets an acute panic reaction in the battlefield, goes to X, who holds around 18 counseling sessions with him. Arjuna narrates his symptoms to X, who counsels him in great detail, which is nothing but modern day talk therapy. Who is X? So we'll just repeat quickly. So if in case you have missed
anywhere, this is the time. If you missed any question, you can answer here also.
So this Google Doodle was on 160th birthday of him. So who is he? Okay. These are the 4 famous personalities. Connect them psychiatrically. I don't want their names, only connect them psychiatrically. Not required, only connect them psychiatrically.
Psychiatrically, how they are related?
So this is a neurodevelopmental disorder in the late 19th century in response to Charles Darwin's Origin of Species, and in the early 20th century eugenics movement became popular throughout this world. This led to forced sterilization, prohibition of marriage in most of the world, and this was actually adopted by Adolf Hitler as a rationale for mass murder of people. However, this eugenics movement was later said it was not valid as it was against the human rights. Who were these X people where there was mass murder during Adolf Hitler time?
Okay, next.
Next.
X syndrome is a psychological syndrome when a person who is kidnapped starts to grow sympathy and alliance with his or her captor, despite having no previous relationship and the danger suffered by the captive. X syndrome is seen in films like Highway, Bollywood, Kidnapping Stella, 365 Days on Netflix. X is a character from Netflix series Money Heist. Give the name of X. Next. Identify that notoriously used by Elon Musk for his depression. Microdosing. You have to identify the black spotted thing. Name the syndrome. What is IP?
Full form.
Full form.
So it's a group of 19 scientists suggested that Y had misleading connotations and became an embarrassing term. And WHO dropped the term in 1963 after a request by delegation of Mongolian People's Republic. While the term Y continued to be used, and Y is actually synonymous to X. The answer is within the question.
So bigger questions will just move instead of reading. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
So what is this neurodevelopmental disorder?
Put up the answer.
Anybody?
Put up the answer.
Answer is intellectual disability.
Only intellectual disability will get the marks, or mental retardation for that matter. Next.
+1. This one is easy. Stockholm syndrome. +1 for correct.
Once you are kidnapped, you start subscribing to the views of the kidnapper because you want to survive there.
So what is this used by Elon Musk in microdoses? Yeah, it's ketamine.
Ketamine. The in thing for depression, sure shot. They are telling fast acting and all. He is using. Tesla creator.
+1
+1
for all. This one?
Asperger's
Asperger's syndrome.
The film is My Name is Khan. We didn't want the film name. Asperger's syndrome. IP. Indian pharmacopoeia. That's correct. Next.
Pharmacy, pharmaceutical, please don't give any marks. Only
Pharmacopoeia. See, there is British pharmacopoeia, American pharmacopoeia, and this is IP, Indian pharmacopoeia. Pharmacy, no marks. Indian, if they write Indian pharmacy, no marks there. Next. X and Y. Anyone?
Anyone? Mongoloid, Mongolians Republic.
Yeah. Tell. X is down, Y is Mongolism or Mongoloid.
Give +1 2 marks.
If two, they write 2 correct, +1, otherwise 1, 0.
Only 1, give only +1. So this is the process where menstrual cycle comes within the few days, synchronize. It can be called menstrual synchrony or McClintock effect.
This is proven to be false.
If somebody writes menstrual synchrony,
They can, even they write menstrual synchrony, you can grant marks.
+1.
Either of the words if they say.
This one? Martha?
Oh no. First part is correct. Second part is.
Sir?
First part Martha is correct. Second part, second name,
Martha Mitchell.
Martha Mitchell effect. If they write Martha, only give 1 mark. If they write Michelle, then give another mark.
So 2 marks if they write both of them. Martha Mitchell. 11th question.
X and Y.
So this is frequently used in your Instagram bios. Correct.
Right, correct. X is bibliomania, Y is bibliophilia.
Make sure X should be bibliomania.
See, they are given correct, but if they are written X writing Y and Y writing X, you don't give marks. X means bibliomania, Y means bibliophilia.
This one. Sir. Autism and MMR.
Autism. X is autism, MMR vaccine, Y is autism.
Kindly make sure X should be MMR, Y is autism. So what kind of parenting which is also an animal? Helicopter is not an animal.
It's an animal, we told. Helicopter is. Eh?
5-lettered.
It walks on 4 legs with a tail.
5-lettered. 5-lettered.
5-lettered. It's,
We'll call
it's
up-
found in the woods.
We'll
Tig-
co- Answer is tiger parenting.
Answer is tiger parenting. Go next.
Okay.
They are very strict. They want their kids to excel at any cost.
This one, 1960s is a clue. Chlorpromazine.
Chlorpromazine is correct.
Chlorpromazine. Last question. Easy.
This is easy. Yes. So the scoring has been done, but it will be declared at the time of the evening final rounds only. We will give that time. The teams can come. First 6 teams can come and participate.
Lunch you can have.
You can go for lunch quickly, please.
Our next session for today is award posters and award paper presentations and conferences and how to improve yourself. It is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to our esteemed chairpersons, Dr. Umashankar sir and J. Sharanya ma'am. Firstly, I have the honor of introducing Dr. M. Umashankar sir, Professor and HOD, Department of Psychiatry, Gandhi Medical College, Secunderabad. Sir is also Medical Superintendent of IMH, the CEO of State Mental Health Authority, Telangana, Principal Investigator of NMHS, Nodal Officer of IMH, past President of IPS Telangana State Branch, past General Secretary and President of Hyderabad Psychiatric Society. Now I would also like to introduce Dr. Sharanya ma'am, who is Associate Professor, Department of Psychiatry, RVM Institute of Medical Sciences, MBBS from Siddhartha Medical College, Vijayawada. Ma'am did her MD from Pratima Institute of Medical Sciences, Karimnagar. Ma'am is an assistant editor of TJIMA, Areas of Interest of Women and Child Psychiatry. Okay. I would like to call upon stage. I would like to call upon stage a speaker for the next session, Dr. Sai Krishna Tikka sir, our esteemed. I would like our esteemed chairpersons to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, all of you. It is a difficult task for the speaker after lunch, heavy lunch, but we hope definitely everybody will be awake in stage and listen to the speaker. He will do the justice, and he is the Dr. Sai Krishna Tikka is the Associate Professor and in charge Head Department of Psychiatry, AIMS BB Nagar, Hyderabad. He is a recipient of Tilak Venkobarao Oration Award 2024 and also recipient of Marafitiya Award 2020 and 2024, Young Psychiatrist Award 2018 and Bhagavat Award 2016, and research grants from DST, SERB and UNICEF, DST, CSRI, NIDA, USA, MOHFW, that is a government of organization, Government of India, and more than 100 journal articles on PubMed, High Index 20, edited and co-edited 3 books and 30 chapters. Area of interest, psychosis, cognitive, neurosciences and brain stimulation. The excellent CV. This I request Sai Krishna to give his oration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. At the outset, I'd like to really thank the organizing team for giving this opportunity to me to present a very different topic in front of first graduates who actually are conducting some studies now, and then will definitely go on and present their research findings in conferences. So it was really Sai Krishna calling Sai Krishna, and I couldn't say no. So from there, the topic which he gave was just accepted. Whatever it is, I said I'll do that. So to start off, it's a post-lunch session. Even I am drowsy like you guys are all. So, all right. Award paper, award poster presentations in conferences. How many of you in the PGs, postgraduates here, have gone on and presented posters? How many of you have presented posters? All right. Yeah, how many of you all have presented oral presentations of your research findings or case reports? All right. How many of you have presented for award session? All right. I see one hand risen there. Award sessions, anyone? All right, one hand there. Yeah, 2. Can I have a mic? Yes, please. Just want you to respond to, how are the oral presentations which are not award sessions and award sessions, how are they different for you?
Regarding the screening, sir.
Okay. I mean, regarding screening, you mean?
And we presented a special case, sir, in award for Shatavana award session.
It was in case
report, sir.
Anyone of you have presented original research data for awards? You have presented original research data? Yeah. Award poster? What was that? Can you please hand over the mic to her?
So it was on insomnia, sir. Insomnia and screen time. I have done
All right.
it in case and control groups.
All right.
I presented for poster, but I didn't win eventually.
So you presented for an award session, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. How is that different, to presenting posters otherwise, which are not for awards?
Actually, it was I don't know, it was the first time that I presented. I thought it was a bit of a rush. It was early in the morning, and the before day they asked us to get an physical poster. Then they told it's an PPT just one day before, and the judges were also like asking the pinpoint questions. They stopped me at 5 minutes. They were actually should
All
give
right.
7. But
All right.
yeah.
The difference that you cited, is first there are judges for award sessions.
Yes, sir.
For others, there are no judges. You're not supposed to
yes,
answer
sir.
to anyone, and so that someone is critically, evaluating you. Yeah, please sit down. Thank you. Most importantly, we come to a basic question. Now, the question is, which is more valuable, the sword or the scabbard? Have you all heard about this Kabir's Doha, which says, what is that? Anyone remembers Kabir's Doha? No, sir. Mol karo talwar kya? Pada rehne do myan. So, if can anyone of you, anyone thinks sword is more important than scabbard? Sword? You understand what I mean here? You're all getting to. No? Scabbard is the sheath. Scabbard is the sheath which covers the sword. Right? Which is more important, the sword or the scabbard? Sword? Scabbard? Nothing is important for you. Come on, yes. Okay. Alright. So, basically the difference between sword and scabbard is what is the difference between a study manuscript and the presentation of the poster. Alright. So, the main weapon is a study manuscript, and presentation is just the sheath, the kind of ornaments that you use to make it more aesthetic. So, the study manuscript is the one which wins the award. So, remember this, if you want to win an award, it's a study manuscript that wins an award. The presentation only helps it win. A good presentation cannot win a poor study an award. So, study, like since morning we have been emphasizing on the fact that study has to be good, in terms of finer feasibility, novelty and all that, right. So, study has to be good. A poor study, if you have a poor study but then you made an excellent presentation, that's not going to win an award, right. But a bad presentation can ruin the chances of a good study. Now, you have conducted a wonderful study, but then you don't do a good presentation or end up having flaws in the presentation, that can actually ruin the chances of that good study getting an award. So, these are two editorials in the South Zonal Journal, which is Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine, by Dr. Vikas, Shahul and Samir, where they have these two studies are very important for all of us to know what are award papers, how are they evaluated, do then anything more needs to be done from our part. So, the title of the first paper is, do the criteria for best paper awards need revision? They tell about a lot of other things, what are there, what are the criteria and all that. Second is 2 minutes more, preparing slides for conference research presentations. We always think that they should have, if they are given 6 minutes, you always think they should have been 7 minutes. If they give you 8 minutes time, you always think they should be in 10 minutes time. When they give you 3 minutes time, you feel 4 minutes should have been sufficient. So, but then how you actually go on and prepare your presentation so that you can fit that particular 2 minutes or 3 minutes is very important. So, here in this paper, they tell you about the weightage which is allotted to the written part and the presentation part. Alright. So, for the written part, it's mostly 60 to 70% of the marks goes to the written part, like the sword itself. So, it's like I have told you, the study is very important, but the presentation fetches you up to 25 in certain awards to 40 marks. Alright. How are these marks divided? This is very, very important. If you are presenting for any paper, there are judges, but the judges are given certain criteria to evaluate your posters or presentations on. So, for the oral presentations, one is style, clarity, compactness of expression and presentation, which fetches you 20 marks. Use of audio visual aids. You've seen Dr. Anil Kakunja's presentation, a lot of audio visual aids, he was trying to use a lot of quiz questions in between. Those aids, appropriateness, quality, visibility, comprehensibility and novelty. This will fetch you 10 points, and the last one is response to points raised in the discussion. We will come to each of it little later. Okay, coming to the main point, why to present in award sessions? Why at all? What is the mandate of NMC? I was just discussing with PGs in the morning. It's like one paper, one presentation, one paper presentation. They don't tell you to go present that in award sessions. The difference between award paper presentation and otherwise presentation is, you have to have a steady material manuscript ready to submit, which will be evaluated. Sorry. Of course, the main reason why you present your presentation is the award itself. You want to win that award, that's why you present there. Along with that, there are other reasons why we should be presenting it. Like in the previous presentation, Dr. Anil said, if you fake data, if there are some fake data in your study, the likelihood of you presenting it outside will be less. So it provides you the credibility. If you are presenting it for awards, it means that the study is credible. Along with that, you are actually communicating and disseminating the whole information which is there in your study paper. Letting others know of what your labs has been doing. Like say if you are working in an institute, there are 3-4 people presenting on a particular topic, people get to know that this lab is working on this particular area, like say PTSD, like say suicidality, that people get to know. Generating interest in others, leaving a lasting impression. A good presentation will always leave a lasting impression, right? If say for example after 2 years I ask you what did happen in Karimnagar's CPD, what will you all remember? The food? Yes, commonly we generally remember what food it was, how spicy or how good it was. I also remember 1 or 2 presentations which are there. Which one will you remember? The previous one, Dr. Anil's was a superb presentation. That is going to have a lasting impression, you might remember that for a long time. So that is another reason why you should be presenting it in award sessions. More importantly, like I've told you, as because you have to submit a paper for an award session, you have a manuscript ready for submission, right? The job of writing a paper to submit to a journal is done, as because you have already given it for submission, alright. Then it's an extra round of peer review. You don't have to wait for a round of peer review for the journals to happen. If you are presenting there are a couple of questions which come to you. So it's an extra round of peer review. You make those changes in the manuscript and submit after the presentation is done. More ownership. The moment you present a paper, you feel this is my study. Now this is my study and I own that. That ownership these award papers are going to give you. Of course, it's a skill development. If you are going to be there in academics and research, it will help you stay in research and academics that much more. You present one paper, you don't win, but then you next time I'll have to win this, you present another paper for the next time, you win an award, and then now it's an award winning paper, I have to publish it. So the more like that it is, the chances of you being in academics and research is that much more. So these are the hidden objectives of presenting awards in award sessions. Now, is there any science behind how paper should be or how the presentation should be? Papers, now Dr. Anil has told you, Dr. Shahul has told what paper should be, what is the format of paper should be. This particular presentation is going to tell you about how the presentation should be and why do we remember certain presentations more and certain presentations less, right? In general, we have 3 categories of people and how we learn things. Right? If I ask myself, I am a visual learner. I remember what I see more than what I listen. Some people among you are more auditory learners. You learn what you listen more than what you see. Some people are actually kinesthetic learners. You remember things that are moving, right? So what is that kinesthetic learning? Let us go in detail. And then there is an overlap. There are visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners where all 3 aspects are there. There are kinesthetic auditory learners, auditory visual learners, like that there are different permutation combinations of learning that happens, right? When you are presenting, the presentation should be targeted to all different types of presentations, all different types of learners, not just for visual learners, but also for auditory learners, but also for kinesthetic learners. And how to do that effectively is what I am going to tell you. First, let us concentrate on the aspect of auditory learners. Whenever in mental status examination we talk about speech, we determine speech in terms of speech volume. Exactly the same. The auditory learning happens in how the pitch is, how variable the tone is, how variable the pace is. Just very small definition of what this means. Pitch is the highness or lowness of a voice. Volume is the loudness or softness of a voice. There is subtle difference there. Pace is the rate of your speech. Timbre or tone is the quality or mood of your voice. When I say I am depressed, and then when I say I am depressed, it's a difference, right? In one speech the emotion is getting reflected, in the other it is not. So there are different types of speech that is the timbre. Now combining these elements effectively is the key in a presentation like this. If you are making in a presentation for awards, combining all the three elements, what are those? It should be moderate pace, it should be low pitch, not much of emotions. It should be neutral timbre and moderate volume. Like say for example, if you are persuading someone to actually do something. Say for example, I want you all to start using a new molecule which has come X. Now I want to persuade you all to actually use that molecule in your practice. I will use a lot of loud noise, loud voice. I will use a lot of modulations in my voice. That is the timbre. But then for award paper, all of it should be used in moderation. Pace, pitch, tone, everything should be in moderation. And now next is the most important part, the visual aspect, because the judges or the audience, whoever is there, actually are trying to judge you on the visual aspects of it. What are those visual aspects? A bit more detail of what visual learning is. It's a surprise, you will know that there are 10 commandments of visual communication. What are those? Those are different in terms of color, typography, shapes, lines, iconography, contrast. All of these things are very, very important when we actually decide on showing something, to someone. So if I am presenting this particular presentation, I am also taking into account a lot of all these things. What are these things? We'll go one by one. One is the colors, the background. It's very, very important. I consider this as a small hall. How many of you have attended ANSIPS, the national conference? Right. Hall A is generally the biggest hall, where it can accommodate 500 people, 600 people, sometimes more, even 2000 people. Now, for those halls, the presentation, the background of whatever slides you are using should be dark. Okay? For a small hall like this, or even smaller halls like this, the background should be bright. Like I have used a white background, and in contrast, black fonts or some other colored fonts. Right? For a very big hall, if my presentation is in hall A, I would rather have a dark presentation, dark background, and lighter fonts. Whenever you applied for an award presentation, your paper is shortlisted, you don't know where the hall is going to be. Right? It is a practice for me always that I have two versions of my presentations. One is the black background or the dark background, other one is a light background. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. That's a very important element which we don't generally follow. Like if you can simply remember Dr. Shahul in the morning. How many of you were there for the Dr. Shahul Samin's presentation? He used a white background. Dr. Anil Kakunje used a dark. See, there was a contrast there. Dark, white, and then fonts were in dark. It was a different combination altogether. So it does make a difference, right? Alright, so it should be consistent, not that in one slide you use a bright background, in another slide you use a dark background. No, it should be consistent across all the particular slides that you are using. Subtle themed background is a very important thing for posters. Posters generally have no background, but then there are subtle features. Say for example, I am presenting a poster on PTSD. Some element of some post-traumatic trauma which is happening in the background is actually advised. For foreground, use not more than two fonts, two colors for fonts, all right, in one slide. So in this slide, how many font colors you see? Black and the purple or whatever color that is, right? Very important is that the images can be of any color, but ideal is contrast font color matches it. This is the image that is there here. You try to match the contrast color to that particular image. So this is one commandment. Then have different colors for headings for different sections. What are different sections you're going to have in a research paper? Introduction, methodology, results. So you can have one color theme for introduction, one color theme for methodology, one color theme for results, like that, so that there is a distinction there. Have at least one image per slide. Have at least one image. It can be of different sizes. You see in Dr. Anil Kakunja's slide, the pictures were big, the fonts are small. I will have an opposite. I will have fonts bigger, smaller pictures. So again, there is a contrast. That actually makes learning different. Alright, now it's very, very important. I see in most postgraduate presentations that images are used, but then they have a watermark behind. That is not at all advised. Say watermark means it is copyrighted. You are using someone else's material. So not to use any such images. Please click yourself a photograph and put it. It's much easier. And then when we want to have pics, we actually copy paste from Google Chrome. We search, we get a thing. Very important there is to see what is the resolution of that image. If it is 200, please don't pick that, because the moment it comes onto your poster, it is going to be very hazy. Pick something which is in 4 digits, 1000 into 1200. Pick those things. If you have a PDF already as a study material and you want a snapshot of the PDF to be there on your PPT, okay, it's very important that you zoom that particular PDF and then take a snapshot. That will give you high resolution images. Okay, better, easy way is actually having snapshots by using this particular thing called Command Shift 4 if you are using Mac, and if you are using this Windows plus print screen. If you say that, you can actually from your screen itself you can actually pick it, crop and use that, and that will be high resolution images. This is one important tip that you all guys can use. Very important that tables are better monochromatic. Tables like this, only black and white fonts, like what it is there in your manuscript. And the moment you copy the table from manuscript to your PPT, it will give you a lot of options, of different colors, in purple, orange, red and all. Please don't use them. Use it as it is. Make them monochromatic, black and white. Graphs, results presented in appropriate graphs and tables attract instant attraction. Tables and graphs are a must, especially in the results section. One important don't do is don't use 3D graphs. When I started doing presentation, I used to use a lot of 3D. But then what is recommended is not use 3D images. I'll show you examples of 3D graphs, and then use smart art designs instead. They are better, but then don't use 3D in them. Use flow charts for methodology section. Use infographics. I'll tell you, these are the graphs. Very, very important. They grab instant attraction. And they should be of different colors, of course. These are the flow charts. This is what is called as an infographic. For example, methodology, you have subject selection, intervention, and say statistical analysis. If you can simply have an infographic like this of what an image and a description in the poster especially, that is going to attract, make your poster more attractive and easy to understand, right? So this is another tip for you all guys to when you're presenting oral presentations and posters. Now coming to typography, you'll not, you'll be surprised to see that there is so much of differences in the fonts that we use. There are so many different types of fonts that are used. How many types of fonts may be there? So many? Yeah. Actually, Mac will have a different fonts. Your Windows will have different fonts. Some other system will have different fonts. All different fonts are actually classified into these 6 families, which is called as GOTMS. So it is GHO, TMS. I'll give you some examples. Here, this is geometric sans. I'll tell you what sans means. Calibri, Arial are the commonly used fonts for presentations. So these are called as geometric sans. Humanistic sans or Verdana, Optima, Myriad. There are fonts like this. Okay. Then old style fonts are Garamond. Transitional means old to modern.
Next,
New Roman, again very commonly used font for manuscript writing, for text. You have modern fonts like Bodoni and Didot, and Rockwell and Korean are the slab serif. Now again, I'll make things more clearer for you, so that we can more classify this. So fonts are like this. this is an F, this is F, this is F. Are they all different? So they have these tails here. This is a tail, this is a tail. These tails are triangular sort of thing, that those are rectangular sort of. So these tails are called as serifs. Sans actually, sans means no, it doesn't have, right? Sans serif means no serifs, no slabs. So these fonts are very, very important, that they should be used for distant viewing, at least 10 feet long. How many of, what is the distance my baby from you to me? Roughly around 20 feet, 30 feet, that one might be around 40 feet, correct? For such presentations, the font should be sans serifs. If it is distant, it is, close viewing like manuscript, if you are reading like this, they should be serif fonts like Times New Roman, right? Now if you would have, observed in Dr. Shahul's presentation, there were combination of both. He used serifs fonts for titles and sans serif fonts for the content. You would not have noticed that. Again, that is the recommendation that is done, that this is again, like I have told you, sans serif fonts for slides, distant viewing, serif fonts for manuscript writing, near viewing. Combination of sans serif and serif fonts basically are good for posters, where you are seeing it from a distance also. If something is attractive, you go near and try to read that. So there are combination of fonts that can be used in posters. Very important is not more than 2 fonts from one same family. Don't use Calibri and Arial, they look very odd. Alright, don't use Garamond Times New Roman, they look very odd. Okay, so try to whenever you're making a poster next time, have this particular thing. Try to remember these things when you're preparing the poster next. Next is shapes. This is again new to me, that different shapes actually convey different messages. Triangles convey something as direction. If you want to show something, tell them it is triangles. Like arrow mark is a triangle, tells do this. Squares are like for balance, and circles are something for a positive thing. If you want to say yes, I won this. If you say I won this, it has to be circle. So it kind of portrays positivity. In PowerPoint presentations, you see smart arts. These are called as smart arts. There are different types of smart arts like list, process, cycle, etc., etc. In them you see pyramids, and then basic block lists, and then circles. If your message is like directive, use triangular shapes. If your message is like balanced one, use square. And if your message is something very positive, you got a good result, use circular images. This is again another way of understanding how an image can be learning to people. Lines, this is a general rule. If any slide should have 5 into 5. 5 into 5 is a rule. Have 5 words in one phrase, or not more than 5 lines, 5 rows in a particular slide. So this is called as a 5 into 5 rule. Remember, that is not just for oral presentations, but also if you are making a poster, you will have methodology introduction. So introduction should not be more than 5 into 5. One particular box should not be more than 5 into 5. Like that. Make sure that those boxes in the posters are having this follow this particular rule. Then with lines comes space. Space is very, very important. Have enough space to distinguish different elements. Again, this can vary from poster to poster, slide to slide. Navigate less space with margins, with thick margins and animations. Use of smart art designs. Crowded slides can actually frustrate audience. Very, very important. There are many PG presentations, where the slides are crowded, the posters are crowded, you have to go very near and read one by line, maybe you have to use a pen. So the slides and posters should not be crowded at all. Now coming to the order, like I have told you, please follow the IMRAD order, that is introduction, methodology, discussion. You feel that you have got wonderful results, I will tell conclusion first, then I will mix results and discussion together. Don't do that. Simply follow the particular order which you have followed in your manuscript writing. There is another new rule called as a mirror ends rule. For any poster, there is a rule called mirror end. What is this mirror end? So introduction starts here, goes down. Okay? Then starts methodology. Next section of the methodology goes here, then goes down, then starts results. Go up, second part of results, then discussion starts somewhere, go down on this. This is called mirror ends. So you have to follow this. So introduction, next section should be methodology, next up there. If results start, results have to be in that particular order only, right? So I have seen different combinations. What they do is introduction, methods, then results, then conclusion. Very common for posters to be made like that. But the ideal way of preparing posters is to follow this mirror ends method, while preparing your posters. For every slide, try to have citations for that slide separately. You see in your manuscript you have 1 to 40 references, and generally it is again a common practice that I put all the 40 references at the end, right? Don't do that. Use for every slide whatever citations they are. Like you see here, there is 1 and 2, 3. There are 3 citations in this particular slide. Put them down in a short form. You don't have to put the whole reference, but then put it in a short form. 1, 2, 3, finish off in this particular slide itself. Very important is also number the slides. Like I've used it here as well. Have numbering, have the headers, date, etc. Very, very, very important. In the date also, automatic change and fixed ones will be there. Be very careful with that particular dates. When you copy paste, one slide to other, generally what happens is you'll see one slide being 2023, other slide being 2021, someone being 2016. Please don't do that. Be very careful while doing that. Then the weights, different weights for headings, subheadings, text, but then follow that uniformly. I'll tell you what is that. Use bold along with contrast color for highlighting. So this is one of the posters that I recently prepared. I'm sorry, it's become quite hazy now. You will see the weight for fonts there is different. Next subheading is different. And within the text, if you want to highlight something, again the weight is little different using bold, contrast bolds. Okay, you can use this for more effective preparation of usage of weights. Then another important is, say for example, if you want to weigh a particular study more, like from your study lab itself, there has been a previous study, you want to highlight that particular study more. Like Dr. Shahul showed about 2 of his publications in the past. What did he do? He put a big image, right? Not just a citation, but the whole image. Like in this particular slide, if there is one article which you want to use it in an image form rather than a citation. That will give weightage to that particular study more. Oh, I'll have to highlight this particular study more. All right. Then this was about the visual learning. The third important aspect is the kinesthetic learning. Now, if you'll ask me what is kinesthetic learning, broadly it can be divided into 2 parts. One is the body language that I have been using. I am moving around, the kind of expressions that I am using. All right. So that is body language. Then motion. Kinesthetic means motion. Motion which is aesthetic, which is beautiful, right? There can be motion inside the slides which can be aesthetic. All right. So those are broadly we can divide them like that. Anyone knows who is this guy? Steve Jobs. So when I started understanding what presentation should be, if you go to YouTube and say who does the best presentations, the one name which comes up is Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs is the Mac owner, previous CEO of Mac, and you see across years he has been using different body styles. His way of presentation is very good. If you see the backgrounds that he used, so they are very, very common across years. He presented for almost 10 years, and you see, even I got really impressed by the dress that he wears. Black shirt, jeans, and a sports shoe for different years. This is like say 2011 and probably ended up doing it in 2020 last. All right. Yeah. Yes. Most of these people follow this. Okay. Do you have to follow that for your award presentation? You come in a black t-shirt, jeans, and a shoe? No. Please don't do that. So the outfit is very, very important. Outfit that you need to wear for an award paper presentation is a formal wear. You can wear a tie, you can have a blazer. I would recommend blazer without a tie. Again, it's very, very subjective. Avoid wearing clothes that are too colorful. Don't wear a pink suit. Don't wear lehengas. Those are too flashy, too colorful. Standing posture, your legs about shoulder width whenever you're presenting. So presenting here in oral presentations, generally you use the podium in award presentations. Best is I would recommend hold this, use this for gestures, and stay here. Where people, audience and the judges also can see the whole body language. Body language tells that you are prepared. If you are hiding here, you are not prepared, right? So okay, your legs about shoulder width apart. Can I move around or should I stay at one spot? For award paper presentations, please stay at one spot. If you're presenting an oral presentation like this, you can move around. But then don't overdo. I have seen people who move from here to here, constantly moving across for the whole presentation. Not to do that. Right? Hands and gestures, quiet gestures. Not like, oh, don't do this. These are actually quite loud gestures. Quiet gestures are, please do. This is what we find. I go to the slide and show this. Okay. Very important part is actually using finger counting. I have 3 points to share to you. 1, 2, 3. Finger counting is very, very useful. Right, when I said 10 commandments, I can say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those are using finger counting as a gesture. Do not, very, very important. Right? Hands on hips. You're presenting a poster, you're like this and you're reading the poster like this. Second one is hands in the pockets, like as if you're the boss. Right? Don't do that. These are don'ts. Crossed arms. Now, very anxious guys. Sir, tell me. Don't do that. These are don'ts for presentations. See, judges are going to judge you, you should not show your how honest or obedient you are towards the judges. Right? So, quiet gestures and using finger counting. Do not read your slides or posters. There are people who simply sit like this and start reading this. Or if it is like this, they don't maintain eye contact, simply read the slides. Eye contact, do not read your slides, poster, divide your audience, front, center, back, left. Don't do that. Don't read your slides. Right? How to maintain eye contact? Now you see, it's a big crowd here. Okay. Now I have left, center, right, then again front, middle, back. So identify one person each. That person will be completely unaware, that you are looking at him. Right? So you look at here, next section you start here, then look there, look here, one section is done. That is how you can maintain eye contact during presentations. Okay, don't look at the slides. Facial expression, a genuine smile, a neutral facial expression. I will show you a small clip of how an ideal poster presentation should be. Emphasize important points with raised eyebrows and open eyes. So that's very important. Using facial expressions, using eyebrow raise is very important. Another important thing, if you lose your train of thought, very commonly happens. We are very anxious. Suddenly you forget what this actually word meant. What do you do? Very important is actually keep your mouth closed, even if you have forgotten. So that will give you, the audience will get a sense of calmness. Yeah, this guy is calm. He's not anxious. All right. So these are certain tips for body language. Now coming to motion slides, how to use optimum use. So PowerPoint you can use a lot of motion because there are so many options for motion. But then optimum use is very important. I'll give you certain tips here. Like this is a slide. It's not very clear. A world map. There are some dots here. Some reference. Sorry. Alright, and then you compare with that slide, which is almost similar. It's like find the difference. What is the difference here? This and this? Circles, yes. So there are something that is there which I want to highlight as circles. Okay. Now is there a difference? That circles can make a difference to me. So this is a slide. If I want to make people to remember this slide more, what I use is an option in animations called wheel. There is an option called wheel. How many of you have seen a wheel option in animations? Yes. Okay, use that wheel. This is the motion. It gives you a sense of kinesthetic now. Along with visual, the kinesthetic learner there, visual kinesthetic learner is also attracted towards that. Right? So use wheel. Again now, what I want to focus is there is no such blue dot in India. Correct? Now what I do? I'll crop this image, put one more image on that, use something called as grow shrink option in the animation, attach that with motion. Now how this happens now after that? Now it comes out, tells me that India there is no blue dot, whatever that blue dot means. Right? So that is kind of emphasizing using motion in the slide. Alright. Now again, very another common thing is use of wipe. How to use wipe? If you want to highlight something, see what has happened here. I put a rectangle which is yellow in color, transparent, and I just use wipe option in the animation so that it gives a sense of motion but also highlights certain thing. It instantly attracts the audience attraction towards that. Alright, a very, very important thing, because we have big tables in our thesis, right? And those big tables don't fit into the slides, what do? Like we have this slide, I told you 5 into 5 rule, definitely doesn't follow that rule. There are at least 20 columns, right? And then there is this long one. If I want to divide this, make it more comprehensible, come back, bring it to the rule as much as possible, what do? I divide the slide in 2 different slides. That one table I divide it in 2 slides, alright? This is a very, very attractive, very easy to understand tip. Okay, so use transition now. We are not talking about animations, we are using transitions. In transition there is a transition called push. Okay, so let me show you what happens. So this is a table, right? This is quite too much to understand, to show, it might take up a lot of time. Now what I did, I divided. Now you see, the comprehensibility of the content is bigger, readability of the content is quite higher now. I divided that. Okay, I cut that, the second part of the table I put it into the second slide. When I use the push thing, now how it shows is like this. There is an illusion that it's a single table, I am moving up and down, right? So this, by using, this is called kinesthetic, aesthetics in the motion inside the slides, you're trying to make the content of the slides more comprehensible or readable. So this was about how to use animations and transitions as part of the kinesthetic learning. Okay, right. Now we have learned about auditory learning, how to incorporate aspects of how to attract auditory learners, how to attract visual learners, how to attract kinesthetic learners, and how to attract people who use a combination of such learning. Now easy method like ChatGPT, you have so many paid websites now. They're paid, not very expensive, maybe yearly charge of say 5,000 to 10,000. You give the content, they'll give you slides. Some of my faculty are quite interested about Canva. He keeps taking Canva subscription every year, right? But then very important is whether that Canva suits, because for me Canva doesn't suit. I don't like the way they put it into and how I will be able to explain to you guys, right? So if it suits you, please use them. If not, you can prepare your own slides. So these are certain examples of automatic AI based tools. They'll put you content, they'll understand what the content is, they'll try to, with all these commandments of visual learning and kinesthetic learning, they'll prepare slides for you. Right, we'll come back to the slide here, which told about how the judging of award papers are done. We told you clarity, compactness of expression, presentation, use of visual aids. It's a audio visual aids is what I told you about, animations, transitions, these are audio visual aids, right? Appropriateness, quality, visibility and comprehensibility is very important. Just using animation will not fetch you marks. They have to be appropriate, they have to be appropriate to the content, and the quality also should be fine. You cannot simply use any animation, right? This is an example. I just want you all to just notice how the poster is made, whether it follows the the mirror N method or not. Is there enough space or not? Each section has 5 into 5. That rule is followed or not. See, I am telling you all this is followed. This is an ideal poster, right? You see the colors. Background is bright because it is near viewing, right? There are not more than 2 colors. White background, blue, and then there is title slide. Alright. Now this part is about how to preparing the poster. It's fine. This is how you need to prepare. Just see how she presents this particular poster. Sorry. Audio. 1 second.
Resistant aid.
Okay.
Although you can see the conclusion we eventually came to, I'd like to present this case to you as it came to us, which is something of a medical mystery. The patient was a 44-year-old man with treatment-resistant AIDS, diligently adherent to heart therapy, who presented to the UC Davis Emergency Department with several days of nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and recurrent nocturnal fever. On exam, he was hypotensive, tachycardic, and febrile, and so was admitted for treatment of possible sepsis. Of note, he had come to the hospital twice in the previous year with similar symptoms, and so by the time he came to us, he was already on treatment for presumptive Mycobacterium avium complex, or MAC. In his first week, he continued to have fevers and diarrhea. A CT scan showed scant lymphadenopathy with nodes that were too small for biopsy. LFTs were elevated in a cholestatic pattern, and this was eventually attributed to the hepatotoxic effect of his MAC therapy, and this was discontinued. He had recurrent pancytopenia over that first week, requiring multiple blood transfusions, and this got us thinking about causes of marrow suppression, maybe a different infection, or a malignancy. In the second week, he continued to do poorly. In spite of antibiotic therapy, he continued to have fevers, and a repeat CT scan showed rapidly growing splenic calcifications, which you can see here. Because he lived in Pennsylvania, we thought maybe disseminated histoplasmosis and gave him a single dose of amphotericin B. At the same time, we obtained a bone marrow biopsy, and this showed caseating granulomas and large atypical-looking binucleated cells, which once stained were found to be Reed-Sternberg cells. And this gave us a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Further testing gave us elevated soluble IL-2 and ferritin levels, which in addition to his fevers, hepatosplenomegaly, and pancytopenia, gave us a second diagnosis of hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, or HLH.
Sometimes I even trying to avoid his eye contact. Alright? So how it should be is, you have to tell, for this to happen, what is important? Be thorough with the content. If you prepare slide today of some material which is there with you for last 1 week, if you have not read through thoroughly, you cannot present like this. Right? Very important to be able to present like this, you have to be thorough, completely thorough with the content. And you have to practice, as because, like I've told you, the manuscript is very, very important. The study itself is very important. You have to practice, practice, practice and practice. I remember when I was actually presenting my award paper which got selected for Bombay Psychiatric Society Silver Jubilee Award, which I did not get. I used to, make all my friends listen to my presentation. I always have to have this stopper, whether it finished at 10 minutes or not. I do it again and again, which are the points which I missed, So that practice is a very important thing for actually winning awards. I told you, why do you have to present for award presentation that I did. Last one point, sir, just 1 minute. Right, the most important part, this was, okay. Another important part is, I don't know what her name is. She only got to know that she has to present a poster in the slide just 1 day before, right? Very important is we have to be thorough with the instructions that are there. Carefully follow instructions. If they say Times New Roman 12 points font, Calibri 16 points font, please blindly follow that. Don't say that the instruction itself is wrong. I'll prepare a poster on my whatever way I want. No, don't do that. Please follow the instructions. This was a paper this was a poster. Some posters are actually asked in 3 slides. It will not be a single slide, but it will be in 3 slides. So this is one poster which I had presented for 3 slides, which I got the award for this. So you'll see a lot of visual learning. So that 3D thing which I told, which should not be there. So this is a 3D image which is not suitable. Now this is quite long, probably 10 years back. Alright, the last point which I want to make is 10 points are there for the discussion. Okay, when Dr. Shahul presented, no one asked a question. Right? The next presentation was Dr. Dennis, almost no one. Anil, he gave a different mode of asking questions. He put, then came some questions. Okay, in oral presentations, you cannot use that auditory method. It was the method that Dr. Anil Kakinji used. Alright? So you have to anticipate. If no one asks a question, I lose these 10 points. And those 10 points can actually make the difference. There are 2 good papers, 2 good presentations, and if there are no questions for this particular discussion, you lose those 10 points. And those 10 points are going to be drastic. Alright? So what is the solution for this? Super. So this is an open secret. Obviously you are presenting to win the award. There is a psychology called as win at all costs. I'm not saying you'll have to go do that. Not fix a question. Don't fix a question. You tell your friend, please ask me this. The moment you answer, people will get to know this is definitely a fixed question. Alright, don't do that. Fix a person to ask a question. You tell him that please read through whatever question you feel, please ask. Please. Okay. Then don't be the first person to ask. Wait if there are any other persons asking a question. Alright, if no one is asking, then you stand up and ask this question. So this is an open secret, please use this. Alright. Thank you very much. I'm open for questions, anything. No marks, although I'm not going to lose 10 points here.
Thank you, Sai Krishna. It is a very good presentation. That's right, very good presentation. I think most of the audience are the postgraduates. Since today morning, everybody is listening how to prepare, how to do. Lastly, how to presentation also come to the end. I think next time, most of the audience, most of the postgraduates, they will present a paper as well as for award papers also, award posts also. They will try to present it. This is most useful for everybody, not only students, even faculty also is useful. And it is open for questions. Any queries, please? 2 questions from audience.
Sir.
I'll take the question from the postgraduate first. Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, not fixed.
Sir, what in case if the template is already given and asked to fit into it, sir?
Yes. Simply follow it. See, most of those templates will be either, so they'll ask you, see, how the templates are there provided. They are either portrait, orientation, or the landscape orientation. The preferred one is landscape orientation. But then if the organizing people tell you that you have to prepare it in a portrait, please do prepare in that portrait only. So they'll not tell you exactly what to fit in. They'll not tell you the content, of course. They'll tell you what should be the font of the title, the study, the author's name. They'll not give you color combinations also. Please don't follow the color combinations which they give. They give the color combinations only for your reference. It's not that you have to follow that color combination, but then follow the font size which they have preferred, the preferred font size they have told. Preferred means you have to simply follow that. Alright. So simply follow that. In that also they'll not tell you, have introduction here, you have methodology here. Is a rough template they will give you. But follow the mirror and method. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
May I ask you?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
First of all, it's a mesmerizing presentation, not only to the PGs, even for us learning so many things to do the presentation, and I learned so much today, thanks to you. I just want to ask you, were you this good at the day 1 of the PG, or it went along the way? How it happened?
Never, sir. Because I did my diploma first, then went into MD. During my diploma, I did no presentations, 0. But then after my diploma, I joined as senior resident there, and I attended one conference. I did my dissertation, which was, I put in a lot of blood, sweat, lot of coffee and all that, right? I did that. I was very passionate to present that particular paper. And the first opportunity that I got was to present it in ICONS, which is International Conference of Schizophrenia, which happens in Schizophrenia Research, Schizophrenia Research Foundation, SCARF, Chennai. So my senior resident then, now who is a clinical professor at Nottingham University, took me, he said, you don't have to spend money. I will ask one medical representative to sponsor your ticket, Ranchi to Chennai. He told, you can stay with me in my room. No more expenses. All right. And so I went there. I did a poster, which was full of colors. Of course, for the first time when you do a lot of background, because I did it in EEG and gamma, so a lot of background, lot of colors. All right. Most important part is in that particular conference, I saw people whom I had referred in the citation. Now, Sir Robin Murray in schizophrenia. Mine was on neurodevelopmental hypothesis in schizophrenia, a research paper. Robin Murray, Carpenter. Now, people who actually you refer them in citations were all presenting there, and I could get some opportunity to talk to them here and there and what research they are going to do, what they are doing something. So, like Dr. Anil Kakunja said, or I don't know if it was Dr. Shahul or Dr. Dennis who said, please attend conferences. Not just presenting, but also meeting people whom actually you may be citing them in your research paper, and getting to know them. It gives you, thrive to do more. I actually lost that poster competition, of course, obviously, but then after that, I tried to improve on that. I did so many more posters. The first presentation that I did, again, I remember, as part of post-graduation, we were actually supposed to do a lot of presentations. So our learning used to happen in those seminars, journal clubs itself, and most of these points, if not this systematically, were told to us by our faculty. The fonts to be used, the background, and those things were already there. So, but then, I tried to improve. Probably I think I used a lot of animations at one point of time, which then now I think were too much. No, somewhere balance comes later on. But then it is automatic process, it simply happens.
Nice presentation, sir.
I must really congratulate you, Dr. Sai. It's a completely change from the monotonous presentation of so many big speakers, national, international speakers we have heard, and we gave say, lectures also. Some of them. Really, there are a lot to learn from your this thing. And more than anything, 80% of your lectures so far I was observing and all that. Of course, half sleep and half the post-lunch lethargy maybe, it is a siesta thing maybe. But the best thing what you have presented with that lady presenting that one, the perceptual contention, the body above is the only presenting, she is presenting, and the face is not doing any much of this thing. And more than anything is she is doing the fingers and this,
Gestures.
this thing. And another thing what I have observed, when she is showing the picture there, the font, she is not looking at. When the audience are looking at that, she is showing just hand like this. But always don't do any time, both of you and the speaker, two of you should not see at the same poster. Either they should see or you should see. And the reading the monotonous thing of reading again, it's the same thing should not happen. That is a very, very good thing. Another thing, what you have this thing, the facial expression of hers, and so to say yours also, not much more similar. She was always from the beginning to the top. The facial expression, the perception of the audience is the same thing what you are all through. In your case, what I have been observing, the smile on his face, the little bit of the speedy thing, starting from the beginning to ending like our Prime Minister Modi. The same speech from the beginning to ending, it was like that, like that. It is going on. I must appreciate you for that. Really, it is really very good learning for the postgraduates and youngsters. It is very good lecture you have organized, the organizers. So I must congratulate you. It is really very nice to think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. It is not only helpful for PGs, like for faculty like me also, I've gained lot of information how to do slides, and you have definitely given lot of examples and all. We are happy about it. If there are no further questions, we'll close the session. And thank you, organizing committee,
Sir,
for
I
giving
want
me
to
this
ask a
opportunity.
question. Sir, within oral presentation, the time limit will be 4 to 5 minutes. For oral paper presentation in conference, 4 to 5 minutes time will be there. In that time, what should be the particular number of slides we should use, and how much we can move around like this?
Yeah, all right. So generally the proportion should be 15% to introduction, 15% to discussion and conclusion. The rest of the 70% can be divided between methods and results. If you have a lot of complex methodology, make 40% of the methodology, 30% results. And if say methodology is okay, but then you have good results to show, 40% of the time should go to results. Please don't waste introduction. So most of the time we see, if you have given 5 minutes, this presenter is present, hasn't even reached to the need for the study up to half of the mark. Please don't do that. One slide is enough. You can dive directly into the methodology and discussion. Again, discussion, you can simply have a slide on conclusion, that's it. Don't have to discuss a lot if the presentation is there for 45 minutes. Generally, in award papers, at national level or even at a state or zonal level, the time is 10 minutes. So you can spend more slides there, but then divide the percentage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, organizers, for giving this opportunity, this important session. This is useful for everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. Now I would like to call upon stage Dr. George Reddy, sir, to felicitate Dr. Uma Shankar, sir. Dr. Om Prakash sir to felicitate Dr. Sai Krishna Tikka sir. I would also like to call Dr. Nitin sir to facilitate Dr. Sharanya ma'am.